This integrity session is for Spanish 102, distance learning. This integrity session is about the verbs saber and conocer. This comes from lesson 6, I believe. In the Vista's 3rd edition, it's on page 200, 200. Saber and conocer, they both mean to know. But just like the verbs ser and estar, you have to know when to use each one. You can't just use them interchangeably. Alright, first let's talk about how you conjugate them, because these two verbs are only irregular in the yo form. The yo form of the verb saber is say. The yo form of the verb conocer is conozco. Both of these mean I know. Alright, after you memorize the irregular yo forms of these two verbs, the rest of the forms are regular. So it's just sabes, sabe, sabemos, saben, and then conoces, conoce, conocemos, and conocen. Now the difference between these two, or when you use each one, is that, we'll draw a line right here, is that the verb saber is to know facts, it's to know information, and it means to know how to do something else. How to ski, how to swim, how to speak Spanish, etc. The verb conocer means to know people, places, and sometimes we say to be familiar with a place. Alright, an example would be if you say, I know John. Alright, John is a person, so we would say yo conozco a Juan. If you said, though, I know John's address, that's not people or places, that would be facts or information. So what you would say here is yo sé la dirección de Juan. Yo sé la dirección de Juan, because you're stating that you know a fact. I know John's address. If you want to say, let me get rid of these for a minute. If you want to say that you know how to do something in Spanish, what you're going to do is just state the verb saber. So if you want to say, we know how to swim, you would say, nosotros sabemos nadar. You don't need anything between these two verbs. It stays just like that. You put the verb saber first, and then you put the second verb after it. Now the second verb does stay in the infinitive form. You don't conjugate it. Or you could say, yo sé leer español. I know how to read Spanish. Or you could say, mi hermana sabe hablar italiano. My sister knows how to speak Italian. Alright, for an example of places, a lot of times in English we say, for example, are you familiar with downtown Huntsville? Even a building, if you say, are you familiar with Madison Square Mall? Are you familiar with Disney World, etc.? That's when you're going to use the verb conocer. So if I want to ask the question, let's ask the question, are you familiar with Atlanta? In Spanish, all you would say is, ¿conoces Atlanta? And you say, no, I don't. You would say, no conozco Atlanta. No, I'm not familiar with Atlanta. So the verbs saber and conocer, other than having the irregular yo forms, are pretty easy to memorize the conjugation if you already know how to conjugate an ER verb. And then secondly, the difference between the two is pretty cut and dry. It's pretty easy to know that saber is facts, information, or how to do something. Conocer is to know people, places, or sometimes in English we say to be familiar with people or places.